Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Myself, Rashid is, and I'm a student and a institute. As you know that we come every day with new topic. Today, I am coming with a new topic that is science behind the happiness. In this regard, we will talk with Chat GPT. Hello, Chat GPT.
Hey, great to have you here. What's on your mind today?
Okay. Um, my topic is science behind happiness, how to cultivate joy. And in this regard, my first question, what does happiness mean to you?
Oh, that's a really thoughtful question. I was just saying, for me, happiness is really personal. It's like a sense of alignment when what you do, think, and feel all kind of fit together. It's not just a fleeting high, it's more like a deep sense of contentment, purpose, and connection. What about you?
How does science define happiness?
Yeah, that's a great angle. So, from a scientific perspective, happiness is often seen as a combination of two things. One is a momentary emotional state, like feeling joyful in the moment, and the other is a longer term sense of life satisfaction. Basically, how much you feel your life is going well overall. Scientists measure it using surveys, brain studies, things like dopamine, oxytocin, and they look at how factors like relationships, purpose, and even sleep affect it.
Okay. Is happiness a feeling or a long-term state?
Ah, that's a really interesting balance. So, happiness can be both. We get those short bursts from positive experiences, like a great meal, a fun chat, or a surprise. But the more stable, longer term happiness often comes from things like strong relationships, a sense of purpose, or personal growth. They really feed each other.
Okay. Why do people seek happiness?
Yeah, that's a really fundamental human drive. I mean, on a basic level, happiness is linked to survival. It motivates us to seek out things that are good for us, like safety, connection, or purpose. But beyond that, I think people just naturally crave meaning and a sense of being fully alive. So happiness is kind of a compass for that.
What factors influence happiness the most?
Yeah, so from the research, a few big ones stand out. Relationships are huge. Having close connections with family or friends really boosts happiness. Purpose is another big factor, feeling like your life has meaning or you're working toward goals. Then things like health, financial stability, and even how much sleep or exercise you get all play a big role.
Okay. Um, can can happiness be measured?
Absolutely. Scientists actually have several ways to measure it. Surveys are super common, where people rate their own happiness or life satisfaction. There are also more objective measures, like brain scans that look at activity in reward centers, or studies on physiological markers like heart rate. So it's a mix of self report and hard data.
Okay. Is happiness different for everyone?
Yeah, it definitely can. Cultural values really shape how people experience happiness. For example, in some cultures, happiness is tied more to community and harmony, while in others, it might be about personal achievement or independence. So, what happiness looks like and how it's prioritized really varies by culture.
Hmm. How do emotions affect happiness?
Oh, definitely. Emotions have a huge impact on happiness. Positive emotions like gratitude or love can amplify happiness, while chronic negative emotions like stress or anger can really drain it. It's kind of a cycle. Our emotions influence our mindset, and that mindset then shapes how happy we feel.
Okay. Can people learn to become happier?
Yeah, that's a great point. The good news is a lot of happiness can be cultivated. Practices like gratitude journaling, mindfulness, and fostering strong social connections all boost happiness. And sometimes even small daily habits like taking a walk, savoring a moment, or helping others can have a big impact over time.
Okay. What is the difference between happiness and joy?
Ah, good distinction. So, happiness is often more of a fleeting, momentary feeling, like a pleasant state you're in. Joy, on the other hand, tends to be deeper. It's more like a sense of fulfillment, often arising from purpose, connection, or a big life moment. So joy can kind of anchor you, while happiness is more like the spark.
How does the brain create feelings of happiness?
Yeah, so it's really fascinating. The brain releases certain neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins when we experience positive events. For example, dopamine is tied to reward. So when we achieve something or anticipate something good, we get a little rush. Over time, these patterns get reinforced, shaping how we feel and even how we interpret experiences.
What role do chemicals like dopamine and serotonin play?
Exactly. So dopamine tends to drive that reward seeking behavior, like you get a hit when something new or exciting happens. Serotonin, though, is more about that steady, calm sense of well being, often linked to social success or feeling accepted. So a balance of both is really key for long term happiness.
Eh, How does stress affect happiness? Do you understand? How does stress affect happiness?
Exactly. And what's really cool is that we can kind of influence this balance. For example, small daily practices like going for a walk, expressing gratitude, or even just spending time with loved ones can boost serotonin. And of course, being curious, trying new things, or setting goals can give you that dopamine boost. So little by little, we shape our happiness.
Can positive thinking change the brain?
Absolutely. And that's what's really empowering. Even small, consistent changes like practicing mindfulness or reframing negative thoughts can reshape those neural pathways. So the brain is really flexible. And with some intentional practice, you can start to experience more joy and resilience over time.
What habits improve mental well-being?
Yeah, a bunch of them really do. Regular exercise is a big one. It releases endorphins and reduces stress. Mindfulness practices like meditation or deep breathing help you stay grounded. And of course, good sleep, healthy social connections, and eating balanced nutrition all play a role. It's like a
Uh,
bundle of habits that keep your mind resilient and focused.
How does gratitude influence happiness?
Ooh, gratitude is really powerful. When we consciously focus on what we have and express gratitude, it shifts our attention from what's lacking to what's already good in our lives. This boosts positive emotions, lowers stress, and even rewires the brain over time to notice more of the good. So it's like a little superpower for happiness.
What is emotional intelligence and how does it relate to joy?
Yeah, so emotional intelligence is basically the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, as well as understand and respond to others' emotions. When you have higher emotional intelligence, you're better at handling stress, building strong relationships, and making thoughtful decisions. And all of that supports joy, because when you navigate emotions well, you can respond to life with more balance and calm, which lets joy flourish.
How do thoughts shape emotions?
Yeah, so our thoughts really act like a lens for how we feel. When we interpret events in a positive, constructive way, it tends to boost positive emotions. But if we get caught up in negative or distorted thinking, like constant worry or self criticism, our emotions follow that too. So by shifting our thought patterns through things like cognitive reframing, we can really reshape our emotional experience.
Why do people adopt to positive experiences over time?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of it has to do with neuroplasticity. Basically, the brain is really adaptable. When we repeatedly experience something, especially if we focus on it, neural pathways get strengthened. So even if something is neutral at first, repeated focus, whether positive or negative, can shape the emotional response.
Okay. How does mindfulness support happiness?
Yeah, mindfulness is really powerful for that. By bringing your attention to the present moment without judgment, you start to notice small joys and reduce rumination on the past or future. It helps regulate emotions, lowers stress, and lets you appreciate everyday things. So happiness feels more accessible and grounded in the now.
What daily habits increase happiness?
Yeah, so some daily habits that really help include regular exercise because it boosts endorphins, practicing gratitude, like writing down things you're thankful for each day, getting enough sleep, connecting with others, and even engaging in mindful breathing. When done consistently, these habits really build a stable foundation for happiness.
How important is sleep for emotional well-being?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. Sleep really acts like a reset for the brain. When you get enough rest, it helps regulate your emotions, reduces irritability, and improves decision making. Without good sleep, it's harder to manage stress, and our emotional ups and downs get more extreme. So, quality sleep is a huge part of staying emotionally balanced.
How does exercise improve mood?
Yeah, it's really interesting. When we exercise, our body releases endorphins, which are those feel good chemicals. Plus, it reduces cortisol, the stress hormone. Over time, regular movement boosts brain health, so it increases serotonin and dopamine as well. All of that combines to create a more stable, positive mood, and it's kind of a natural antidepressant.
What does role uh, nutrition play in happiness?
Yeah, absolutely. Sleep really is like a foundation for emotional balance. When we're well rested, we can handle stress better, we have more resilience, and we just tend to see the world with a bit more clarity. So, a solid sleep routine is really key to supporting long term happiness.
How can spending time outdoors improve joy?
Oh, definitely. Being outside is a huge mood booster. Natural light, fresh air, and even just a little greenery help reduce stress and increase feelings of calm. Plus, it's linked to better physical health, which kind of reinforces that overall sense of well being.
Does having a routine increase happiness?
Yeah, it really can. Having a routine gives a sense of structure and predictability, which reduces anxiety. It also frees up mental energy since you don't have to constantly make decisions. And when your routine includes small joys like a morning walk or reading, those little daily anchors really add up to long term happiness.
How does reducing screen time affect mood?
Yeah, reducing screen time can make a big difference. Too much screen time often leads to overstimulation, disrupted sleep, and even social comparison or isolation, all of which drag down mood. When you cut back, you often get better sleep, more time for meaningful activities, and a greater sense of balance, so it's a real mood booster.
Why is laughter beneficial for health?
Yeah, absolutely. Love and connection are so vital. Positive, supportive relationships lower stress, boost self esteem, and even improve physical health, like lowering blood pressure. Basically, when we give and receive love, it creates a kind of emotional resilience that just makes us feel more balanced and joyful.
How can hobbies support happiness?
Oh, hobbies are amazing for that. They give you a sense of flow, a kind of immersion where time just disappears, and that naturally boosts joy. Plus, they provide a creative outlet, reduce stress, and give you a sense of accomplishment. So, having those little pockets of time to explore something you love is a huge happiness booster.
How can people find joy in ordinary moments?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to be something grand or time consuming. Even a small daily hobby like doodling, gardening, or playing music for 15 minutes can bring a spark of joy. It's really about being present and savoring those moments, even if they're simple.
Why are relationships important for happiness?
Yeah, exactly. It's really about those small, everyday moments. Happiness often blooms when we give ourselves permission to enjoy them without waiting for some big future milestone. So, by staying mindful and engaged, happiness kind of finds us in the little things.
Okay, how does kindness affect emotional well-being?
Oh, definitely. Kindness is like a ripple effect. When we act kindly, whether it's toward others or even toward ourselves, our brain releases oxytocin and other feel good chemicals. This boosts our mood, increases feelings of connection, and overall, it just builds a sense of purpose and joy.
Can helping others increase happiness?
Oh, absolutely. There's actually a whole body of research on this. When we help others, it activates the reward centers in our brain, releasing dopamine and making us feel good. Plus, it creates a sense of belonging and meaning, so it's kind of a double win, both for them and for us.
How does friendship contribute to joy? Can you understand my question? How do friendships contribute
Yeah,
to joy?
exactly. Friendship is such a huge source of joy. Having people you can share experiences with, who support you and celebrate with you, creates a sense of belonging. And those deep connections help buffer stress, boost happiness, and just make life feel richer.
Why is spending time with family important?
Oh, absolutely. Family can be such a cornerstone of happiness, whether it's by providing a sense of safety, shared history, or unconditional support. Family ties often give us a deep sense of belonging. And of course, strong family connections are tied to greater emotional resilience and long term happiness.
What effect does loneliness have on people?
Yeah, loneliness can have a pretty significant impact. It's been linked to increased stress, high risk of depression, and even physical health issues like heart disease. When people feel isolated, they often have fewer emotional resources to draw on. So, building connections, no matter how small, really supports mental and emotional well being.
How can communities support happiness?
Yeah, that's a big one. A sense of purpose really acts like a compass for happiness. When we feel like what we do matters, whether it's work, volunteering, or a personal passion, we tend to experience more fulfillment and joy. It's like happiness flows from living with intention and meaning.
Does social media help or reduce happiness?
Yeah, it really depends. Social media can be a double edged sword. On one hand, it helps us connect, share, and find community. But on the other, constant comparison, information overload, or even just doom scrolling can really sap happiness. So it's all about balance, using it intentionally and setting boundaries to keep it positive.
Okay. What role does trust play in joyful relationships? Do you understand? What role does trust play in joyful relationships? Chat GPT, can you understand?
Yeah,
No.
absolutely. Great. If you have any other aspects of happiness or well being you're curious about, whether it's small habits, big life changes, or just practical tips, feel free to ask.
My question, what role does trust play in joyful relationships?
Ooh, that's a great question. Trust is really the bedrock of joyful relationships. When we trust someone, we feel safe, valued, and free to be ourselves. That openness and security makes those shared moments feel more joyful because there's no fear of judgment or betrayal. So, trust really amplifies the positive experiences we share.
My next question, how does setting goals contribute to happiness?
Yeah, that's a really interesting link. When we set goals, it gives us a sense of purpose and direction, and that anticipation of progress can spark joy. Plus, achieving even small goals boosts confidence and gives us a sense of accomplishment. So when goals are meaningful, they really help keep us motivated and happy.
Why is having purpose important in life?
Yeah, purpose is so important because it gives our lives a deeper meaning. When we feel like we're working towards something bigger than ourselves, it fuels motivation, resilience, and a sense of pride. Plus, it helps us navigate challenges because even when things are tough, we know we're moving towards something that matters.
Good. How can self-reflection improve happiness?
Absolutely. Self reflection is really powerful because it helps us understand our values, our needs, and what truly matters to us. By pausing to check in, we can make choices that align with what's important, which leads to more fulfillment and a deeper sense of happiness.
What role does confidence play in joy?
Yeah, mindfulness is really key. When we're mindful, we stay connected to the present moment, so we're not overwhelmed by worries about the past or future. That awareness helps us savor small joys, respond to challenges with balance, and basically feel more grounded. So it acts like a bridge, bringing us back to the simple, joyful moments in life.
How does learning new skills increase satisfaction?
Oh, that's a big one. When we learn new skills, it gives us a sense of growth and progress. That feeling of mastery, like you're expanding your abilities, really boosts self esteem. Plus, it keeps life interesting and taps into our natural curiosity, so we feel more engaged and satisfied with life.
Mm. Can challenges lead to greater happiness?
Yeah, absolutely. Challenges, when we approach them with the right mindset, can give us a real sense of purpose and achievement. Overcoming obstacles builds confidence and it expands our capacity to handle future difficulties. So while they can be tough, they often lead to a deeper sense of fulfillment and joy once we grow through them.
Okay, great answer. My
Of
next
course.
question, how does uh, resilience support well-being?
Yeah, resilience is really key because it helps us bounce back from setbacks. When we're resilient, we don't just survive challenges, we grow through them. That builds a sense of strength and confidence, which means we're better able to handle stress, maintain perspective, and stay connected to what matters most. So it really supports long term well being.
Mm. Why is celebrating progress important?
Oh, absolutely. Celebrating progress is so important because it reinforces those positive steps, keeps you motivated, and helps you appreciate how far you've come. When we pause to acknowledge even small wins, it boosts confidence, sparks joy, and makes the journey feel more meaningful.
How can people stay positive during difficult times?
Yeah, that's a tough one, but staying positive often comes down to a few key things. First, it's about grounding yourself in the present. Practices like mindfulness help. Then, keeping a gratitude practice, focusing on small good things, can reframe your outlook. And of course, leaning on supportive relationships and staying connected can give you strength and perspective when things get tough.
What habits help maintain long-term happiness?
Yeah, great question. Some of the big ones include regular gratitude practices, staying socially connected, getting consistent exercise, and having a sense of purpose, like meaningful goals or activities. Also, being kind to yourself, maintaining good sleep, and being flexible with change. All of those habits create a stable foundation for long term happiness.
Hmm, good. Is happiness more important than success?
Yeah, that's a really thought provoking question. I think happiness is kind of the foundation because success, whatever form it takes, feels shallow if we're not happy. When we have fulfillment and joy, then success can feel like a natural extension of that. So I think when happiness is first, success feels more meaningful.
Hmm. How do different cultures view happiness?
Yeah, that's really interesting because different cultures put different emphasis on it. In some cultures, happiness is really tied to community and harmony, like a sense of belonging, while in others, it might focus more on personal achievement or individual freedom. So, happiness is really a cultural mosaic. It's shaped by values, norms, and life priorities.
Hmm. Can money buy happiness?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what makes happiness so rich because it's not just one size fits all. It grows out of how we relate to others, what we value, and the meaning we create in our own lives.
How does work-life balance affect joy?
Yeah, it's really big. When work and life are balanced, we have space for rest, relationships, and personal passions, and that fuels joy. But when work overtakes, it often drains us, leaving little time for fulfillment. So when we align work with purpose and keep a healthy boundary, it really lifts overall happiness.
What role does gratitude play in long-term happiness?
Oh, absolutely. Gratitude is like a muscle. When we regularly practice it, it rewires how we see the world. Over time, it makes us more attuned to the positive, reduces envy, and just builds a steady sense of contentment. So it's one of those simple daily practices that really compounds into long term happiness.
How can schools encourage happiness?
Yeah, exactly. When we express gratitude, whether it's to ourselves or others, it builds positive emotions and it creates a cycle. We feel good and we become more likely to notice and savor other good things. So it's really a simple yet powerful practice for fostering long term happiness.
How can workplaces support employee well-being?
Yeah, that's really important. When workplaces prioritize balance, things like reasonable workloads, flexibility, and a sense of purpose, employees feel more valued and less burned out. Plus, when there's a culture of well being, like open communication, mental health support, and recognition, people bring more engagement, creativity, and overall happiness to their work.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone seeking more joy?
Yeah, I think so. Joy is really about being intentional, seeking out moments that align with what you value, nurturing positive relationships, and staying open to new experiences. So when we cultivate that mindset, curiosity, gratitude, and presence, we tend to naturally draw more joy into our lives.
Okay, that's that was my today topic, and I hope and that everyone seeking joy will be helpful for them um, for next time. Um, goodbye. Allah Hafiz.